Welcome to Intimacy Evolution, the podcast that helps you enjoy deeper connection and more intimacy in your relationships. I'm Brianna Carey, relationship and intimacy coach, and together with my husband Mark, a licensed professional counselor, we're here to help couples create the relationships they crave. Relationships evolve over time, and that's okay. Let's talk about it. Welcome, Tara, to Intimacy Evolution. I am very excited for our conversation today.
Yeah, me too. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So please go ahead and introduce yourself. You're an author, you're a sex therapist, you have lots of experience. So tell us a little bit about you and how you got started with your journey.
Sure. So I began this journey so long ago in Brooklyn, New York. And then I wound up in Colorado where I went to graduate school and studied at Naropa University, which is a premier contemplative educational institution. And so I studied mindfulness and had no classes on human sexuality, which is kind of ironic. We weren't into the body at that point. Then my studies brought me further into the body because all of my clients after I graduated wanted to speak about sex and sexuality and about their preferences. And so I needed to get up to speed. And that's what I did. I became a clinical sexologist. I became a certified sex therapist. And I've been on this journey for a couple of decades now, helping people really rediscover their own sense of intimacy, their own sense of pleasure. And I work with a lot of different populations, but most specifically women who've had cancer and we're on a cancer journey. And now I'm studying psychedelic cervical orgasms. So lots of innovation.
Oh my goodness. Yes, we're going to jump into that because that's super intriguing and fantastic. And we have not covered that yet. I love that you work with women that have gone through cancer treatments. I have 15 years of experience being a sexual health educator as well. And one thing that I found a lot is there's just not a lot of people talking about or supporting women that are experiencing that and understanding what their body is, like how to navigate their body and get back to intimacy after chemotherapy and things like that. So can you explain that a little bit more? How do you work with your clients?
Yeah. So really wanting things, I would say, to slow down for women. What I find is that they're feeling objectified by the medical community. They're not feeling 100% supported. They're also feeling like, who do I ask my questions to about sex and sexuality? There's no point person. And that's even if they feel comfortable bringing up those questions. So for most people, there's not an invitation into conversation around sex and sexuality unless you've got a specific type of reproductive cancer, then they may mention it, but they may not. So this kind of this void where people fall. So I picked up the slack. I was wanting to help women. I started speaking at breast cancer support groups. And then I noticed that, okay, there really needed to be a class. And so what I noticed primarily is that there is, a lack of, a lack of desire really to claim this for themselves, because most of the women felt like they've depleted so many resources, financial, emotional, psychological, of their support system. So to claim this one more thing is really difficult. And then it's, well, because of my partner or because of my significant other. And that's not really a helpful place to start. And it is an access point for a lot of women. So what I do is I help women redirect their attention, right? So refocus their energy on themselves so they can experience pleasure. And I like to do it in really simple, gentle ways, because I think there's many ways that we can experience pleasure within a day. And that's a wonderful opportunity to begin there.
I love that so much. And when you were saying that, I realized that there's just so much overlap in the work that we do. We work with pregnant and postpartum couples. And again, women reconnecting with themselves during that postpartum phase. And that's what I hear a lot is they're like, well, this is a point of disconnect for me and my partner. My partner's ready. I'm not. And they want to do it for their partner. Just like what you're saying is it starts to become a disconnect within the relationship, and they're doing it for others rather than focusing on themselves. And I feel like that's just our society in general. Women do not take ownership of their pleasure and know their body. So I love that you're encouraging them to start there first.
Yeah. And I also thought about the medical, like the same for postpartum women, you know, the medical community, the lack of understanding and knowledge and help and support when it comes to sexuality afterwards. So,
so you wrote a book about how to rediscover your body.
Yes. Yeah, I did. And it really evolved from this process of working with women who'd had cancer. And then when I started speaking about the work, all sorts of women were saying, hey, I want that too. And so then I wrote this book it's for all women. So women who are postpartum, women who've gone through menopause, women who've just been on a journey of rediscovering their body because what was has changed. And now there needs to be a new level of acceptance. And I think that's true for so many of us, whether we've been through a surgery or we've been through life-threatening illness or we've just changed relationships. Maybe we've gone through the process of a divorce. So many things can alter our perception of ourselves. And that's really important to begin to address because that's where it begins. It's at our conception and perception of ourselves. And what I do find is, yes, that there's this performative paradigm that we as women live within, that it's about giving and being of service to others. And that's kind of how we're trained. We're trained to show up and receive accolades and reinforcement for those good behaviors. And so one of my mentors would say that the world runs on good girl energy. And I do believe that to be true. And I feel like there's an opportunity to disrupt that because what we really need to do is what I believe is really claim that pleasure for ourselves. Because when we know that to be true for ourselves, then there's so much more power and potency within every act, within every service that we do perform, because we're doing it from a place of fullness and not depletion.
Yes.
Yeah. And could you give us a little bit more about that good girl energy, what that is and what that looks like, and how that works?
Yeah. I mean, I would say most women would know what that means. And I would say that it is that the reinforcement, the accolades that were received for performing and doing for others. And that one of my mentors would say that she was hosting a party for 9-year-olds and that the boys were kicking back and telling jokes and laughing. And then the girls were being super helpful. What can I do to help? And so that's that contrast. It's like, that's a really great example and terrible example of like the conditioning that we receive from a very early age, that when we serve others, we are of value, which is totally not true. We are of value because we are, right? Just because we are. And that for young girls, for women, it's a whole trajectory of being of service. And I mean, I can just go on and on about that process, but there is something about the fortification of the ego for men that is different, that is actually resilient and healthy. And I mean, then they all have their own set of issues, if you will, but there's something about that doesn't happen in terms of the conditioning that women and young girls receive. It's a crazy journey that we're on here in this world sometimes.
Yeah, and I like that term, and it's becoming more popular because it puts a term behind what is happening there. And I think the other fascinating part from a relational standpoint, I'm not, I'm male, so I don't see that, or I don't feel that in the same way. But when we sit back and watch, the policing between women or girls, if you step out of line in that good girl, and you're not doing that, it's
disrupting.
If you're disrupting, you often get called out and tried to put back in line and all this other stuff, which ultimately doesn't serve us well, or women well, society well.
For anybody, yes. And I love that. And so for me, it really is about the reclamation of that, because I can be a disruptor. I'm a grandma. I have a daughter. I have a granddaughter. So I really can step into my lineage because I know the place where I am. I feel the support of ancestors. I see the trajectory of my lineage. And it's a very comforting space to be. So because I'm so clear and so confident about how it is that I can show up in the world, it's easy to disrupt things now.
Yeah, quote unquote, we've done the work, so now we are okay with this.
Yeah.
Yes.
So how, what are you got steps on how that works and how to, empower women to get to the place you're at?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I think that's a great question. And I think that it's different for everyone. I feel like it's hard to give a cookie cutter approach.
Yeah.
I know we like that. And I think particularly our minds like that. And so I think part of the process is really this disruption, that the feminine is more flow and there is more circular possibilities with that. And then it's not so linear, and that the opportunity is actually to embrace that,
Right.
I guess that lack of control. Right? And that's powerful. And to step into the unknown and to step into the mystery. I mean, really, that is the erotic space. That is the sexual space. That is tapping into that life force energy. I'd say it's probably antithetical to most things that we know in the world. And how do we do that? Well, I would say gently and gently and lovingly, I think is really important. I think when we come from a place of self-aggression that we need to be different or need to change, regardless if the intentions are good or not, it's just more self-aggression. I'm not an advocate of that. We can help it.
Giving yourself grace as you're navigating something new, because it's going to be awkward. And I think when we try something new, we're like, okay, I'm going to do this. And I thought about it and I've done the steps and it's just going to go smoothly and it's going to be great. And it's like, no, it's going to be really awkward at first. It's going to go against what sense of normalcy. And that's okay. Give yourself grace and just go slow. It's okay.
Yeah. I love that. That's beautiful.
Thank you. So sorry, did you have to?
No, go ahead.
Yeah. I'm like, so you started touching on it a little bit. How did you transition from helping women tap in to their body after chemotherapy? How have you now transitioned into psychedelic cervical orgasm?
No, it's a natural evolution. Yeah. So what I can say about that is that I am in the process of learning. So I'm not an expert by any means. I'm a neophyte. I have teachers that I love that guide and support me. And so what I know is that there is a connection between the cervix and the ventral vagal system. And so because of that, there is this understanding that there is a reproductive or genital connection to that system, which, as far as I know, men don't have.
Mm-hmm.
And so the vagus nerve, when it's activated and we're in the shutdown mode or the freeze mode, then it is also connected to our cervix. Mm-hmm. So if there's a birth trauma or if there's unwanted sexual contact, there is a shutdown. And so the dorsal vagal part of the vagus nerve is the part where there's a social engagement system. And that's where we're able to be a little bit flowy and a little bit more open and a little bit more celebratory and connecting. Mm-hmm. And that we want to, I imagine, want to live more into that and not into the shutdown and the freeze. And yet oftentimes we don't know why, but we go into that response of the shutdown and freeze, particularly around sexual activity. So because that vagus nerve is an afferent nerve, that it's getting the information from the body as opposed to just exclusively from the brain, it is a different experience. So we need to honor the experience that our body is telling us. And oftentimes we want to go into the override of I should be doing this or I should be thinking this. And again, coming back to that's probably more self-aggression. And then we're not allowing the body to have the experience that it wants to have, that it needs to have to process the trauma. So all that to say that when we're actually in the flow of that vagus nerve, that there's more potential for more pleasure. And that when we have that experience, we can actually activate endogenous DMT within our system. So it's not about ingesting a pill, but it is actually the release of the DMT, which happens at birth. It can happen in a vaginal birth, right? So our mother kind of encodes us into that process through vaginal birth. And it also happens at death, where there's a release of the DMT, and it can be in psychedelic proportions where you're having a psychedelic experience at the moment of birth and at the moment of death. And then in between is the rebirth. There is the sexual experience that we can have where women can particularly have that experience of the release of the DMT. And so because of that, they can then invite their partners into that experience through neural entrainment. So that's what I know about that.
So to summarize in a way, we're talking about healing through sex in a way, that a particular way of going about that can release DMT in the system, which can allow us psychedelic effects. So we're talking about creating our own psychedelic effects through sex.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Yeah, sounds wonderful. I kind of wish I had a cervix right now for that reason.
So what is DMT? I've heard of it.
So it is what is essentially called the God molecule or the spirit molecule. It is dimethyltryptamine. It's the strongest psychedelic found on the planet. So it is really this opportunity to really connect beyond ourselves. So this is a true ego dissolution where you're being one with spirit. And it is that component that allows us then to transcend our small self into the larger self to have this psychedelic sexual experience.
This makes so much sense now because I've talked to a few other people who have had cervical orgasms, and the way that they describe it is that it is so heart opening. It's so potent and also very connecting. So you have to be careful if you are with a partner that's a stable partner, not, you don't want to just experience this like with a one night stand, because it is like, it just opens you up so much. So one, that sounds great if you're ready for that. Two, what is some like work or steps, or who, I guess what I'm trying to say is, because it is so powerful, who can start exploring this maybe, or what are some signs like that you're ready for it? I don't know what's coming through there.
I think, I mean, it's just it sounds like a general question of, okay, sounds great.
You're ready for this. I guess.
What's next? Yeah. How do you get started?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So that I would say is, it's interesting because I always like to see what comes up in my field. It's like, what do I need to know next? And then I listen and I notice what comes up in my field. So if you're listening to this and this is of interest to you, then, well, okay, maybe it is something that you might be ready for. What I can say is that if you're impacted by the desire for the novelty of it, or it feels like a kind of a one-off thing, like I'd like to try that, then probably not so much, because it's something about a practice. And I would say really opening up to the devotion of that practice, and that there is a depth of commitment to this evolution. And that's what I can say about that, because it is powerful, just like you described, Brianna. It's like, it's a powerful, powerful process.
Yeah.
And it's a process.
And
It's
yes.
And it's a process. It's not one and done. It's like, okay, yeah.
Yeah. Work towards that.
Yeah. I mean, there are a number of things for different people that are somewhat similar, maybe not as spiritual in nature, maybe just as, I think of women who desire to squirt, and they have to work towards it. It's not just comes very easy to them, or maybe just orgasm in general. Like maybe it's really hard for people to have a specific type of orgasm or orgasm at all. And it's a whole process. And so that devotion to that reflection on how all that.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I love that.
Yeah. So what are some tips for somebody that is looking to reconnect to their body? They're like, yes, I'm that person that I do this for my partner and I want to be there for them, but now I want to connect to myself. What are steps to help them work towards that?
So I love that, because I think that's a really great place to begin. And it's a good place to have gentleness And how then are you already embracing some of those qualities within yourself, within your everyday life? I like looking at the strengths, right? Because what I notice is that most people are already doing it to some degree. And so then when they're able to identify that and really see it, then they can begin to amplify that throughout their day. And so I mean, I'm already breathing and I'm already eating. And then can I do that in a more pleasurable way that honors my body? Okay, yeah, I can. And so the invitation from me to others is really to look at the things that you're already doing. And then how do you do it in a way that incorporates more of your senses, more of your being? So it is so much more pleasurable. Because I don't believe that we need to go to the extremes about doing something radically different unless you really want to. And I like the novelty of that, but sustainably, oftentimes it doesn't work so well. So really looking at the practices in terms of what it is going to set you up for success. And so beginning to look at what are you already doing today?
Yeah.
So, and as you said that, the things that came to my mind, you were talking about awareness. So becoming aware of what we're already doing, that we could amplify our enjoyment, our connection with, and do that. So there's 2 A's, awareness and amplification.
And acceptance.
Acceptance.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So
I like this process of alliteration.
And I think that that's really important to highlight because as women, I know for myself, like it's very easy to get caught up in our everyday and dismiss those moments because again, back to the good girl syndrome where, you know, serving of others and doing for others, right? So we forget what did we do for ourselves today, or that maybe in that reflection, we notice that we're maybe not doing enough for ourselves. And then having that awareness, you can start to implement something, a walk outside or just standing outside and being grounded or really enjoying your cup of coffee in the morning, actually enjoying it and not chugging it and reheating it 5 times, you know, and then forgetting about it, but actually sit and enjoy that. And how can you do that? Maybe you get up 30 minutes earlier so you can actually enjoy your coffee or something. So just some extra little examples, I guess.
yeah, I'd love to hear your examples of the things that you do on a regular basis to help yourself in this regard.
Oh, yes. Yeah. I am an eccentric one. So I do things. Yeah. So I do.
I love it. I'm excited.
So what I really like to do is because I have studied very little bit of the Vedas, but it has been a part of my life for a long time. And the Vedas are the ancient scriptures of India that actually inform yoga. And so I know yoga and asanas, and I know the Vedas a little bit. And so I do a 40-day sadhana and I begin it with the new moon, right? So there's something about the intention and setting the time and having the alignment with as above, so below, something about that positioning. And then I begin, and right now I'm in the midst and like level or day 10 of an hour-long yoga practice. And it's a very simple practice in that I'm not doing a whole bunch of moving or sweating, but it is really this deepening into each posture where I'm holding each posture like 5 or 6 minutes and this melting. And so what happens is this process of pandiculation where the muscles actually relax into it. So instead of holding them and being strenuous, the pandiculation is kind of the unfolding of the muscle and into this relaxed state. And so I'm allowing my body to have this process. And it is like an acupressure session every day. So I'm giving that to myself. And it's been amazing. I have to say, over the course of the past 10 days, I've seen such a big difference in the movement of my spine.
I'm going to have to look into that more because that sounds really good.
It's really good. And I get up early and I meditate every day and I set an intention for every day, really based upon what it is that I'm bringing forth in this world. I do things very intentionally and intensely, as my partner.
I like that though. But if we are just moving about our day and we don't have intention, then it feels so chaotic.
Mm.
I feel that way. Yeah.
Yeah. And so if you are listening and you feel that as well, maybe take a step back and try to slow down and set an intention for the day.
Or just for the 30 minutes with your coffee, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Small bite-sized pieces, you know.
And
take
it doesn't
the-
have to be big drastic changes all at once because those are not I just lost the word.
They're not sustainable for
That
me.
word. Yeah.
You know, when I started doing small things like intention around moving my body for 15 minutes a day, my exercise became much more regular.
Yeah.
When I made an intention around stretching every day, all of a sudden I could cross my legs and it felt comfortable, right? And so it's the little things that we can sustain that until we become great at them and we can move beyond that.
Yeah. Incorporate other new things.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. I love that.
I love that too. Yeah.
Is there anything else that's on your heart or that you would like to share?
Well, it's been a pleasure to have this conversation with both of you. I love that you're a psychotherapist, Mark, and Brianna, that you're an intimacy expert and that you're really helping women in the birth realm, because I feel like that's powerful stuff. My daughter is pregnant with her second baby and can be a grandma.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. So I'm very much interested in helping women support their own knowing of their own being. So really this rediscovering body processes. My daughter is rediscovering her body, second time round, being pregnant, and just watching how that is. Yeah. So it's just a beautiful process.
It is. Yeah.
And as you say that, for us, we have 2 children, and I think every time it's different.
Oh, yeah.
In the rediscovering of the rebuilding of the relationship. Group dynamics says if you take one person out or add one person in, it completely changes the dynamic. So having, you know, a second child, it was not just like having the first one all over again. It's a brand new process. It might be similar steps of rediscovering, but it's definitely very different.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, because you're so right. And after the birth of my first child, I didn't even know that I could love another child as much as I loved my first. And then my heart burst open again, and I was able to love my second child so much more than I could have imagined. It's an amazing process.
It is. And I love that speaking about this, what you speak about and share about rediscovering your body, reconnecting, what we're working towards, like my hope is that it allows women to really enjoy the process because they have a little bit deeper understanding of what they can expect or what is to come rather than being fearful of it, fearful of the unknown. That's what I find a lot. They're like, I don't know how this is going. You know, you want to enjoy your baby, but then like you have the baby and you're like, oh, but how do I have a relationship? Because I have this baby relationship now, you know? And so I think what we're both doing is so powerful and so needed is just bringing awareness and acknowledging the feminine awakening that we are in now, you know, that is happening, and getting in tune with our bodies and feminism and motherhood and honoring that instead of being scared of it. So thank you for the work that you're doing, that you have been doing.
My pleasure. And yeah, I love the way that you eloquate that. So yeah, I embrace all of that.
Thank you so much.
And as a partner, I enjoyed all so much as well, because it just deepens our connection, our relationship, and my enjoyment in life as well. I don't know if I can put words to how amazing it is for me. As you do that, I may not be part of that or the part of the process, but to watch it and to receive, and then I receive the benefits of it as well. You know, it's great.
Yeah. And that's what we want to help more couples to experience, is that deeper connection and understanding of one another.
I think you're doing an awesome job.
Thank you so much. Well, please share with our listeners how they can connect with you. Where can they find you?
Sure. So people can find me on my website, rediscoveringmybody.com, or my name and last name, taragaleano.com. And my book is available on Amazon.
And we will be linking all of that in the show notes. Thank you so much, Tara, for joining us today. I loved our conversation, and I have a feeling we're going to be having you back on the show to talk about some more stuff.
Well, wonderful. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
If you are wanting to create deeper connection within your relationship and enjoy more pleasure while doing so, then make sure you grab our free 4-step guide to creating a weekly routine for reconnecting with your partner. The link is in the show notes. Thank you for listening to our episode, and we'll see you next week.